The rebuild of this Bugatti has become one of the most talked about projects in the car world. It is not just about fixing a damaged supercar. It is about taking something most people believe is impossible and slowly bringing it back to life. The car was heavily damaged, and many experts would have said it should never run again. But Matt Armstrong decided to rebuild it step by step, even when problems kept appearing. Over many months, the project turned into something much bigger than expected. It became a test of patience, skill, and problem-solving. Now, the car is very close to driving again, but there are still serious risks left that could stop everything at the final moment, this stage. The car has already gone through an unbelievable amount of work. The engine, which is a powerful W16 unit, has been repaired and tested. Surprisingly, it started on the first try, which is a very good sign. Many rebuilt engines failed during the first start, but this one ran smoothly. That gave hope that the internal parts are still in good condition. However, a successful start does not mean everything is perfect. A car this complex can still have hidden problems that only appear when it reaches full temperature or real driving conditions. That is why the next tests are so important and so risky. One of the biggest concerns is the cooling system. This Bugatti has multiple water pumps and cooling circuits because of how powerful and advanced the engine is. Each system has seals that keep coolant and oil separated. These seals are very sensitive. If the engine ever ran without coolant, even for a short time, it could have damaged them. The problem is that seal damage is not always visible right away. The car can still start and run normally at first, but when it heats up fully, weak seals can fail. If that happens, coolant can mix with oil, which would be a serious issue. It could mean removing and rebuilding parts of the engine again. To check this, the team must run the engine at full operating temperature and hold it there. This is a stressful test because it pushes the system to its limits. They will watch temperature readings, fluid levels, and engine behavior very carefully. Even small changes can be important. If everything stays stable, it means the cooling system is likely safe. But if any warning signs appear, it could send the project backward by weeks or even months. This is why this stage is considered one of the most dangerous moments in the entire rebuild. Another important factor is the body control system of the car. Modern supercars like this are not just mechanical machines. They are full of electronics that control almost every function. After a crash, the system stores error codes and safety locks to protect the car. These codes must be clear before the car can legally drive on the road. Without clearing them, the car will fail inspection tests. The problem is that only official manufacturer tools can reset the system. Independent workshops cannot do it, no matter how skilled they are. This creates a serious challenge because access to these tools is limited. This means a rebuild depends not only on mechanical success, but also on cooperation from a manufacturer's system. Even if the car is physically perfect, it still cannot be registered unless the electronic system is reset. This creates a situation where one company has control over the final step. It is a frustrating obstacle because everything else can be fixed by skill and effort, but this step depends on permission and access. Without it, the car remains incomplete no matter how perfect the rebuild is. Because of this, the final inspection process becomes very important. The car must pass strict road safety tests before it can be legally driven. All warning lights must be off, and all systems must behave normally. Inspectors will not care about the story behind the car. They will only check if it meets safety rules. This makes the pressure even higher because small electronic faults can block approval. After so much work, failing at this stage would be extremely disappointing. Another challenge is timing. Even if mechanical problems are solved, delays in software access or inspection appointments can slow everything down. This means the rebuild is not only about fixing parts, but also about managing time and external systems. Every delay increases tension because the car is so close to completion. The longer it takes, the more opportunities there are for new problems to appear. Despite all these challenges, there is still strong hope that the project will succeed. The engine running well is a very positive sign. It shows that the core of the car is still healthy. The careful rebuilding process also increases confidence that most systems are now stable. Each successful test brings the car one step closer to becoming road legal again. But in a project like this, nothing is guaranteed until the very last step is completed. The human side of the story is also important. The team working on the car has spent many months dealing with pressure, setbacks, and technical problems. Every success brings excitement, but every failure brings stress. Rebuilding a hypercar is not just technical work. It is also an emotional journey. There are moments of doubt, moments of hope, and moments where everything feels like it might collapse. That emotional tension is part of what makes the project so interesting to follow. As the car moves closer to completion, attention becomes sharper. Every sound from the engine, every reading on the dashboard, and every small change in temperature matters. The difference between success and failure can be very small. A car like this does not forgive mistakes easily. That is why every test is treated with extreme care. The goal is not just to make the car run, but to make it safe, stable, and legal for the road. If everything goes well, the final moment will be historic. A damaged hypercar brought back to life and driven again on public roads is something very rare. It would prove that even the most extreme damage can sometimes be reversed with enough skill and patience. But until that moment arrives, the project remains uncertain. There are still obstacles left, and any one of them could change the outcome completely. In the end, this rebuild is not just about a car. It is about pushing limits, solving problems that seem impossible, and refusing to give up when things get difficult. Whether it succeeds or not, the journey itself shows what can be achieved when determination meets engineering skill. The final steps will decide everything, and the world is watching closely to see what happens next. Even though the Bugatti is very close to completion, the final stages are always the most uncertain. This is because early success in a rebuild does not always guarantee final success. Many cars can run in a workshop, but fail when they are tested under real road conditions. That is why the upcoming steps are treated with so much caution. Every system must prove itself not just once, but repeatedly under pressure. This is the only way to be sure the car is truly ready. One of the most important remaining challenges is making sure all electronic systems communicate properly. Modern supercars are highly dependent on software. The engine, gearbox, cooling system, and safety features all rely on signals from control units. If even one unit behaves incorrectly, it can affect the entire car. After a crash, these systems often store errors that do not disappear on their own. They must be reset using special tools that are not easily available. Without this reset, the car may refuse to operate normally or fail inspection tests. Another concern is long-duration stability. A short engine start is not enough proof that everything is fine. The car must be able to run for a long time without overheating, losing pressure, or showing warning signs. This is especially important for a high-performance engine like the W16, which produces extreme heat and pressure. If there is even a small weakness in the cooling system or seals, it may only appear after extended running. That is why the temperature hold test is so critical. It is designed to expose problems that are not visible during short tests. Fuel system performance is also important. After a rebuild, fuel delivery must be perfectly stable. Any inconsistency can cause misfires, rough running, or even engine damage. High-performance engines are very sensitive to fuel pressure changes. If pumps or injectors are not working at full efficiency, the engine may still start, but will not perform correctly under load. This is another reason why testing must be done carefully and gradually, rather than pushing the car immediately to full speed. Braking and safety systems are also checked at this stage. Even though the car is focused on engine performance, it still needs to meet strict safety requirements. Anti-lock braking systems, stability control, and electronic assistance features must all function properly. These systems are essential for passing road inspection. If any warning light stays on, the car will not be approved. This makes even small electrical issues important, because they can block the final approval process. One of the most stressful parts of the entire rebuild is the uncertainty of external approval. No matter how well the car is rebuilt, it still must pass official inspection before it can be legally driven. This process is outside the control of the builder. It depends on regulations, paperwork, and system checks. Even a perfectly working car can be rejected if something in the system is not cleared correctly. This creates pressure because the final result is not only about engineering, but also about compliance. Time pressure also adds a challenge. Every delay increases the chance of new problems appearing. Parts that were recently installed must remain stable while waiting for final approval. If something fails during this waiting period, it can push the project back again. This is why the final phase of a rebuild often feels the most intense. Everything is almost finished, but nothing is guaranteed yet. Despite all of this, there is still strong optimism around the project. Each successful test brings a car closer to completion. The fact that the engine runs and major systems are already functioning is a very positive sign. It shows that the foundation of the rebuild is strong. Most of the hard mechanical work is already done. What remains now is refinement, testing, and approval. The emotional side of the journey cannot be ignored either. After months of work, setbacks, and problem solving, the team is very close to achieving something rare. There's excitement, but also caution. Everyone involved knows how quickly things can change in a project like this. One small issue can delay everything again. That is why each step forward is treated carefully, without rushing. If everything continues to go in the right direction, the final outcome will be very significant. A severely damaged hypercar returning to the road is not something that happens often. It represents both technical skill and determination. It shows that even extremely complex machines can be restored if the right approach is taken. But until the final approval is complete and the car is officially road legal, there is still work to be done. The story is now at its most important point. The rebuild is no longer about fixing major damage. It is about passing final tests, solving small but critical issues, and ensuring everything meets strict standards. This stage decides whether the long journey ends in success or continues with further delays. Every system, every reading, and every inspection now matters more than ever at this point. The outcome is close enough to feel real, but still uncertain enough to remain suspenseful. That is what makes this stage so powerful. The car is no longer just a project in progress. It is a machine standing at the edge of completion, waiting for the final confirmation that it is ready to return to the road. As the rebuild moves into its final phase, attention becomes even more intense. At this stage, there are no major mechanical jobs left. Instead, everything depends on small details working perfectly together. This is often the most difficult part of any complex rebuild. Large problems are easier to identify and fix, but small hidden issues can be harder to detect and may only appear under very specific conditions. That is why testing becomes so important now. One of the key focus points is system consistency. The car must not only work once, but it must work the same way every time it is tested. Engineers and builders look for stable behavior across multiple runs. If the temperature rises too quickly or if pressure drops unexpectedly, it can indicate a hidden issue. Even if the car does not completely fail, small irregularities can still delay approval. This is why repeated testing is necessary before moving forward. Another important factor is reliability under real conditions. A car like this is not just meant to run in a workshop. It must perform safely on public roads, where conditions cannot be controlled. That means the engine, cooling system, electronics, and safety features all need to work together without supervision. This is a very different challenge compared to controlled testing. On the road, the car must handle changes in speed, temperature, and load without showing any weakness. The inspection process adds another layer of pressure. Before the car can be legally driven, it must pass official checks. These checks are strict and leave no room for error. Inspectors do not focus on the story behind the rebuild. They only focus on whether the car meets safety and legal standards. This includes lights, emissions, warning systems, and electronic stability. Even a small fault can result in failure. That is why preparation for inspection is just as important as mechanical work. At the same time, communication between systems becomes a major focus. Modern hypercars depend heavily on electronic networks. If one control unit does not send or receive data correctly, it can affect multiple systems at once. This is why final diagnostics are so detailed. Every module is checked to make sure it is responding correctly. Any mismatch between systems must be corrected before the car can move forward. There is also the challenge of final approval timing. Even when everything is ready, approval is not always immediate. Sometimes a car must wait for appointments, system resets, or official confirmations. This waiting period can be very stressful because the project feels finished, but it is still not legally complete. During this time, builders must be patient and careful not to rush anything that could cause a setback. Despite all these challenges, the overall situation is much more positive than it was at the beginning of the rebuild. The car that once looked like it might never run again is now very close to returning to the road. Most of the difficult repairs are already completed. The engine has proven it can start. The main systems are installed. The structure is complete. What remains is final confirmation that everything works as intended. This is also the moment where confidence and caution must balance each other. Too much confidence can lead to missed problems, while too much caution can slow progress unnecessarily. The team must carefully decide when to move forward and when to stop and double-check. This balance is what often defines whether a complex rebuild succeeds or fails at the final stage. If everything goes according to plan, the final result will be a fully functioning hypercar returning to public roads after a serious crash and full rebuild. That outcome would represent months of effort, problem-solving, and determination. It would also show how advanced engineering and skilled hands can bring even the most complex machines back to life. But until the final test is passed and approval is granted, the outcome is still not guaranteed. The journey is now at its closest point to success. Every step forward feels small, but each one is extremely important. There are no major unknown systems left, only final checks and confirmations. The car is standing at the edge of completion, waiting for the final moment when it is either officially approved or